So hopefully everybody can see my screen.
Gotcha.
So obviously we're talking about engineering pathways. It's an arrangement we have with the University of Illinois. And there's lots of community colleges that are involved with this arrangement. We're just one of the many. There's also Harper, College of Lake County, McHenry County College, Moraine Valley, Oakton, Parkland, which is, most people don't know where Parkland is. Parkland is right next to Urbana. And then there's a few more on this list as well. So what's the best thing about this agreement? Well, the best thing about this agreement is that if you were to come here to College of DuPage and you're part of this agreement, you are then guaranteed admission to the College of Engineering at University of Illinois after you're done with this program. So after 2 years here, you're actually given a guarantee into a very prestigious university that's actually very hard to get into. And so this agreement, I think it's hard for really to describe it necessarily to someone who's not familiar with the process. I remember when I was first teaching, we didn't have this agreement. This agreement came around in 2012. And I remember students would come into my office and they would ask, what does it take for me to get into the U of I? Do I need A's in all my classes? Is a 3.8 GPA okay? Is it got to be 3.9? If I get a B, is this going to ruin my life, kind of thing? And I didn't really know the answer to those questions. It was always kind of like, well, it depends on who's applying, and it depends on just the application pool. And that was not what they wanted to hear. And there was a lot of depressed students and so forth in my office occasionally because the answer was unknown. It was really one of those unknown things. So when we made this deal with the University of Illinois, this kind of takes away that surprise. It takes away that fear or that unknown. And basically, all of it's now on you. You know, if you're in this program and you keep up your grades and you do what you're supposed to do, you are guaranteed into the College of Engineering at University of Illinois. So that's what's great about this program and why it's been such a success at so many community colleges. All the details I'm going to show you tonight are essentially on this website. It's on pathways.engineering.illinois.edu. So all that information is there that I'm going to share with you. As far as majors are concerned, almost every single engineering major is available. So the most popular ones like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, those are all available to you. And in addition to a lot of other engineering majors as well. The only one that is not is chemical engineering. Chemical engineering is not in the College of Engineering at University of Illinois. It's actually in the College of Liberal Arts. So if you want to do chemical engineering, you have to go through the more traditional transfer process.
We have a question, Dave.
Okay.
Eric, would you like to present the question?
Sure, I'll go ahead here. So the question is, are you guaranteed the area of study or guaranteed into the engineering college?
That's a great question. So you're guaranteed into the engineering college. However, most students end up getting their first choice. So if you look, I don't know, can you guys see my cursor?
Yes.
So if you look at this line right here, in fall 2017, 87% of the students that got into the College of Engineering actually did get their first choice major. And in fall 2018, 93% of those students that transferred got their first choice major. So the vast majority of students do get their first choice. It's only certain majors that are even tough, but even for those majors, the majority of them do get their first choice. The tough majors are computer science and mechanical engineering. Computer science is just a very popular field. Lots of people go into it, and it just has an enormous number of applicants every year. And so that's what makes it very competitive. And then mechanical engineering has a lot of labs, and with all the growth that they've had, they just are running the labs literally every hour of the day you could think of, and they just don't have any more space unless they were to build more buildings. So for those two reasons, you're kind of in the situation where you have to keep your GPA a little bit higher, but all the advisors will tell you along the way exactly where you need to be in order to make sure you get your first choice.
I do want to add that last year's statistics, 100% of engineering pathways graduates were able to get into their first choice major. So we've only just seen an increase of successful transfers into the first choice.
Probably should have put that on the slide, but oh well, what are you gonna do? So I guess, are there any more questions or I can continue?
You can go ahead.
Continue.
Thank you.
Okay. So what people want to usually know is, okay, that sounds great. You have this guarantee, you have this ability to get into this university. What else is there got to be? You know, what is this requirement to have this wonderful thing? Well, you have to follow the engineering pathways plan of study, which basically means you have to take courses that an engineering student would take to be ready for that junior year at the University of Illinois. In addition to that, you have to have a 3.5 technical GPA and overall GPA. Technical GPA you could think of as being your math, your science, and your engineering courses. An overall GPA would include all the other courses you might take, like English or social sciences or humanities. Now, this is kind of a key thing that makes it difficult, is you have to maintain a B or better in all required courses. And so you can't get any Cs, it's got to be only A's and B's in order to meet this pathways requirement. And the other one is that you have to meet with your advisors regularly, but usually that's not as difficult as maintaining the GPA and maintaining all A's and B's. For most of you guys, you're probably interested if there's any scholarships available. If you keep a 3.8 GPA overall while you're at College of DuPage, you actually are guaranteed a scholarship upon transfer. So we've been talking a lot about the University of Illinois. Why University of Illinois? Why is this so exciting? Well, they have a large number of very, very good programs nationwide. So you could think 29 of their programs, and that includes undergraduate and graduate programs, are ranked in the top 10 nationwide. They're the number 6 overall school when it comes to undergraduate degrees nationwide, and they're number 10 overall for graduate programs. And so we have listed here quite a few of the different undergraduate majors that you could pick and what their actual national ranking is for each of these majors. So when you look at this, this is not just any school that you are getting a guarantee into, but it's one of the best schools in the country that you can have this agreement for.
We have another question.
Sure.
The question is, can you have less than a B in the middle of the semester and finish with a B and still qualify?
Yes. So the only thing that counts is the end of semester grades. So the actual grade at the end of the semester. So if you get lower grades on a test score and then you bring up your grade by the end of the semester, that's perfectly fine. The only thing that matters is the final grade in the class.
One more question. Why would I choose this path over going straight to UIUC besides costs?
So I actually have a slide for that later on, but there's no reason I can't say it twice. So one of the nicest things about a community college is the small class sizes. So you could think that your average class size at COD is about 20 to 30 students. They can get as big as 35 in a normal single section of a course. Some of the labs that we have in sciences, we do double sections, which means everybody's together in the lecture, but there's 2 separate labs that are run, and those can get up to about 50, but those are the biggest classes on our entire campus. When you go to a university initially, a lot of your science classes will have very large numbers of people in the hundreds, and your general education courses oftentimes will be in that range too, where it could be multiple hundred, or you could think 80 students in the room or 90 students in the room. So your first 2 years of your degree, oftentimes at most universities, are very large class sizes. But the nice thing about having a small class size is that the professor will know that you're there, know that you're not there. They'll know your name. And the other benefit about a community college, I guess, depends on your point of view. And one of the benefits of community colleges is that all the professors grade all the tests and exams and so forth. So from my point of view, it kind of stinks. I don't get a TA. But for a student's perspective, the actual professor is grading all the exams. So they really get to know the students. They really get to know exactly how each student is doing in the class. We can reach out to you. And we have 10 office hours a week. And so students always come to my office hours and try to get help on different things. It's a little bit harder in the remote environment, so we have to create Zoom meetings, or I have to meet them on Blackboard, collaborate to help them out. But students have that ability to talk directly to a professor and get help directly from the person who's teaching them and who's grading their work and knows exactly how they're doing. Another benefit that most people don't really think about is just that it's close to home. So when you start community college, or you could think college in general, and you're living at home, the only thing new in your life is college. That's the only new thing you have to get used to. If you go somewhere else to school, or if you go away to school, there's a lot of new things in life. You have to, find a place to live, and new places to eat, and new friends, and so many new things. Where do I do my laundry? All those kind of things, in addition to learn how to do college. And so the transition from high school to college is actually pretty difficult because the classes get so much harder, so much faster. But having that ability to do it where that's the only change in your life is actually a huge benefit. So hopefully that was able to answer your question. All right. So another thing that I think students and parents are always interested in is, okay, you're ranked really great, but what else about University of Illinois is amazing? Well, they have great job placement rates. So they have 1,700 bachelor's degrees and 900 master's degrees graduating every single year. And their job placement rate for bachelor's degree across the entire College of Engineering is 96%. So 96% of their students graduate and then have a job lined up for them upon graduation. Their average starting salary for those students is $69,475. So that's extremely impressive. They actually have statistics, not just for the whole college, but they actually have it for every single major. It's on this website here, ECS, which is Engineering Career Services, engineering.illinois.edu. I actually pulled out the mechanical engineering one because I thought it would be kind of interesting to see how much detail they give. They actually tell you exactly how many of students started working full-time. So about 69% of them went into full-time work. 29% of them actually went on to additional education. So they were considered as a good thing for the job placement rate. If you think about that though for a second, 29% of them were either going on to a master's degree, again, in engineering. Some of them might have gone on to med school if they were, say, getting a bioengineering or chemical engineering bachelor's degree. But another thing that's interesting is some of them might go on to law school or other schools to become like patent attorneys or that kind of thing. So they don't want to just say master's degree in engineering enrollment, but all the different graduate level kind of programs that they can enter, they kind of group them all together. So you can see that the vast majority of these students, mechanical engineering, either got a job or are continuing their education further from there.
Dave, I'm just going to give you a little heads up.
Okay.
That we only have a few minutes left in this session.
Oh no, I'm going too slow.
That's okay. And our guests are more than welcome to stay and continue so that they could ask questions intermittently if they would prefer to stay in our session as opposed to joining another. But I just wanted to give you a time warning.
Okay, well, I'll try to do my best. I decided because a lot of people are not familiar with exactly what the coursework is for the first 2 years, I thought I would show you. If you notice, it's a lot of math classes and a lot of science classes. So you have things like chemistry in there, calculus in there. And you also are going to have in that second year, again, science classes, math classes, and engineering courses. So like statics is a course that's on how bridges work. And then in that second year, second semester, you do take 2 more engineering courses. You definitely take quite a few engineering courses, the entire math sequence, 3 physics classes, 2 chemistry classes, a computer science class. So most of your classes here are going to be STEM related.
We do have another question.
Okay.
Sorry, 1 second. Well, sorry, that's my mistake. I thought I saw there was another question. Please continue.
There is. I can read it.
Oh, I guess I can't see it anymore for some reason. I don't know what I did. Please read it.
No worries. If you don't meet the GPA or if you do not meet the B or a GPA requirement, is there any way to switch to another college or transfer after 2 years, such as UIC?
Yes, definitely that's true. So students that don't fulfill the requirements of the Pathways program, the vast majority of them still do become engineers. They just go to other universities. The courses they're taking are comparable to wherever they're going to be going. So all mechanical engineers take the math sequence. All mechanical engineers take at least 2 physics classes, a chemistry class, a computer science class, classes like statics and dynamics, mechanics, materials. So it doesn't really matter. Coursework wise, they're going to be okay going to another institution. They're just not given that guarantee at Urbana anymore. So yes, you can definitely transfer to other institutions with the coursework you took.
And there was one more question before that. It's when you transfer to UIUC, are you still eligible for the Illinois commitment tuition fee?
I have no idea.
That would definitely be something that, like in our first opening session, that would most likely be a question for our registration office. You can learn more about that at registration@cod.edu. So that would definitely be best to answer them. But David, I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to just include the application deadlines first, since it is already past our date. The engineering pathways application, it's a 2-part application process. So just like I mentioned in our opening session, the first and most important thing that you need to do to get this whole process started is to do your COD application. It's the general application that gives you your COD ID number and the instructions to create your MyAccess account. The MyAccess account is that login information that will be used to create your email. It'll be used to also take the important placement tests, which are part of the requirements for applying into this program. There is a supplemental application that does not open up until December 1st of this year. And that is actually going to be found from the UIUC website. You can get a link to it by going on to cod.edu/pathways, but you'll be able to fill out the supplemental application. This does have essays. This does have the submission of transcripts. They will need to see what your placement test results are. And the early decision deadline is January 15th, and then the final deadline is April 15th. So I know I hate to cut us off, but we do have to start another session shortly. But I just wanted to make sure that I throw that in there before I let Dave finish it off.
Do we have time for one more question, or was there something that we had one more question that we could have time for? I wanted to make sure that there was nothing super relevant, Dave, that the prospective students needed to hear before we go to that last question.
No, I mean, the next slide was just Carrie's information at U of I. So she's kind of the University of Illinois program coordinator for all of the engineering pathways programs. So if you have more and more questions specifically, kind of like the last one that was mentioned, that she's another resource for you that you can ask.
So Eric, let's try to address that last question. I think we could probably answer that, and then we'll close this session.
Sure. So there was actually 2 questions. One of them is really quick. Is there a place online where I can view or download this presentation?
We will be sharing the links in a few weeks. So everyone that got that attended and registered will be collecting all of the recorded Zoom meetings and providing that to you all.
All right. And our last one is,
I read it. Yeah, I
okay.
see it. The question is about the AP test for statistics. Now, that is, statistics class is not in the engineering pathways required classes. It would count as a math credit. David, if you want to take that over, it's basically, the question is, if you get an AP on your statistics exam for math, do you still get credit for that course? And ultimately, it's really just kind of extra.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, but it won't count towards your bachelor's degree or your associate's degree, because that statistics class that you're getting credit for is not part of the curriculum for the engineering degrees for the Bachelor of Science, and it's not part of any of them in any of the universities in Illinois. So
it would be more like an elective, essentially.
No, it doesn't even count as
No,
elective.
not even. Okay.
Because engineering degrees usually don't have any electives.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's The answer is it will hurt you from a financial aid point of view, because financial aid will look at it and say, oh, you have credits. You don't need as much financial aid, but it will not help you to graduate. So, yeah.
It's
Well,
good
I can
practice
speak
that you
for
were
my
in an
daughter.
AP.
Pardon me? When my daughter took a bunch of AP classes, what it allowed her to do was get through and have, like you can have a double major, you could have an elective later on that is more important to you. So it allows you some
Yep.
space in your schedule
But for
later.
engineering specifically, we're just answering for that. But the last question,
Right.
and this will have to be the last one for this session, and Jaden wanted to know about the AP test for Calc BC. So Dave, that one depends on the score that you're getting.
Yeah, so for the Calc BC, you need, I think it's a 5 in order to get Calc 1. I know for AB, it's definitely a 5. For that one, we could probably share the link to the AP. Do we have that?
No, I don't. But if you are, Jaden, if this is for engineering pathways, however, because it is a cohort and the classes are going to be the technical courses, unfortunately, even if you scored a 5, you are going to have to be taking Calc 1 your first semester. So it's one of the requirements that all of the students taking these classes are taking the same classes together. So, all right.
Thank you so much. That's been very informative for the students as they decide on which direction they'd like to go. So that's the end of our breakout session for the first round. I am going to post real quickly here some breakout sessions for the rest of the evening. And it didn't paste like it was supposed to, but it will. Just bear with me. And we hope that if you have any further questions, you always, I'm not sure why they're not, there they go. You guys can see them now?
So
Yes?
somebody asked in the chat, would you have to redo all your AP exams? AP exams that are not related to math, science, engineering, for engineering pathways, for example, humanities or social science credit, you would actually get credit for. If you aren't in pathways, or if you're just doing regular engineering at College of DuPage, then for those situations, then those students do get to count it, and they would be able to use it to transfer to, say, UIC or NIU or IIT or Purdue or wherever they happen to be going. It's just for this specific engineering pathways program, Urbana wants them to be a cohort.
Perfect. I had added the links as well, I believe. So
Oh, good.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to take a minute pause, and then we'll get started on our next session.